My whole life they didn't want me.
Taste the motherfucking free.
You know what I'm saying? What you gonna do? Where you gonna go?
Sometimes, you know what I'm saying?
You
You
just
just
gotta
gotta
make
keep
some
this
money.
push, you know what I'm saying? Me, the way I work is I keep operating because I never fail, you know what I'm saying? I fall. I pick myself back up. I keep going. You know what I'm saying? Time to march. Fuck what happens. You know?
King's
You
Logic,
can't take me
Female
down.
D.
There's no force in
Hey,
this
yo,
world that
Mark.
can fucking cancel my energy. Fuck it. You know? Let's go, man.
I'm back. Already twisted, no need to introduce. Get lifted one line. Political rap, milk, killing cancer like pills. Pop the general, it's arsenic. Retarded to the flame. Go against the grain, feel the same numb pain. Fuck shots, grab the bottle. Getting hollow, run for cover like the day after tomorrow. You can say it's chill, life's cold, but keep it real. Undercover, lost the battle, but still won the war. Dark side of the force, mind trick, transform. Jedi John Connor, doing what you wanna. Puffin' nails, hydroponics, getting lost in the madness. Sustained at the level that you practice. On my own planet while I bring it back to Earth. Crashing like a comet and I'm coming feet first. Fuck that, already spent and it ain't no apple pie. Try to tell the truth when you living in a lie.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Tills from the Chris. I'm your host, Chris White, Mucosal Melanoma survivor, thriver, and advocate. On my podcast, we talk about anything and everything because it's all on the table. On today's show, it's going to be the second half of my conversation with my MelaHomie, Mr. Patrick Guddal, founder of Connect Melanoma and all over melanoma badass. So without further ado, here's the second half. Enjoy.
I got a Les Paul and a Paul Reed Smith in here. I got a Fender Deluxe Reverb behind me and a Boss Katana Mini on my shelf. So
you should be jamming out.
that's the ultimate goal. And you know, it's actually that line of argument carries a lot of weight when it comes to, you know, there's a lot of people out there in the tanning bed industry that are in legislatures that are protecting the revenue of that industry. You know,
it's that,
yeah. And say, listen, if I get my way, I'm out of a job, and I would love nothing better than for melanoma education and advocacy to be both ruled obsolete, because everybody knows what to do, and the research was funded to the point where we just don't have this disease anymore.
Dude,
we have a long way to go.
Dude, that's something that you said earlier that, like, you know, just kind of stuck in my head. So you were talking about the same month, the same time that you got diagnosed, you had been promoted, right?
Yeah.
So check this out. I remember this, and it was so ironic to me because I was like, what are the odds? But the same month that I got diagnosed, I got a raise. And a very significant raise. You know, I started as a home builder in 2016, and it was 2018 when I got diagnosed. And so I was 36 years old. But when I had started initially a couple years before, you know, I was an assistant or superintendent. You know, I was just doing warranty and stuff. I was, you know, like learning, and I only made like $44,000 a year, you know. And so 2016, it was like 44. I was like, okay, well, it's steady. I have insurance, you know, and insurance was super important and stuff. But over the next couple of years, I would gradually get, you know, a couple of raises. I got my first raise within 6 months. It went up to 55, and then it bumped up to 60, and then it went to 62.5. And then, yeah, the month because it was after one of my reviews, and I had told my bosses on a review or something that I was like, I know I'm worth at least 70, you know. I was like, easy, you know, and stuff. And I was like, it'd be cool to get that. And so they just gave it to me, and I was like, cool, you don't know unless you ask. And so I was like, all right, cool. But you know, yeah, that was the same month, which I ended up thinking down the road was really cool, that it worked out like that, because when I ended up having to go on to short-term disability in and out of work, you know, like when I had to have extended periods of time from like a recovery from, I had to do it once for one of my surgeries, and then another time from, you know, toxicity from the colitis. I had to do that, and then I had to do it again when I ended up going into the TIL program. But when I did that, I was able to have, you know, I was still able to have income, you know, coming in and everything. And I still had my insurance and everything. And so I lived with my parents at the time, so I was able to save the money. But like, if I didn't kind of have those caregivers, you know, and be in that kind of situation to do that, I would have not have ever been to the spot. But it was always just kind of like an initial sign off the bat. So when I started, when I got diagnosed, I kind of already had a little bit of positivity going, because it was almost like at the, you know, same time. And so I was like, well, you know, you know, was so stuck on, okay, let's keep the insurance, that I made a lot of my decisions based on let's keep the insurance. And that was when I finished my trial, and I didn't I didn't take extra time off to recover. I was just like, you have to go back to work, or you're going to have to cover your insurance. And I had, you know, I built a house when I was sick, and, you know, I actually had, you know, bills that were, you know, on the table now, and had to make an income. And so I ended up going back to work, you know, just because I didn't know any better, didn't know. But it took probably about, you know, 2.5 years until, you know, and over that time of, you know, really just getting back into what I used to do and discovering I didn't really get the, you know, satisfaction out of just doing that job, because I was only doing that job just to make money, not because I just really liked that job like that awesome. You know, I did a lot of jobs throughout my time before being a builder, you know, trying to discover, like, you know, since I was like a kid, you know, like what do I want to do, and, you know, and this and that. But over, you know, probably 2021, when I really started looking into my own situation and story, and reading all my old scans, and kind of reliving everything, and started getting a part of the support groups and stuff, that I really started getting like the play, you know, it was like, it felt good because other people, like, you know, were very receptive around me and understood what was going on and stuff. And so the more I kept getting involved with that, the more I realized that's what I wanted to do, and not, you know, just go to work, just, you know, because it was so exhausting. And over time, it was like, man, it wasn't even good for me, because it was just burning me out mentally and physically on both ends, you know. So and then it was just, I was plugging along trying to figure out how to get involved and what to do. And, you know, I spent a good amount of time once I left trying to figure out, you know, I was working in one direction, and then, you know, realized right before Christmas that, you know, that's probably not the best direction, shifted gears and said, okay, if I'm going to do this, it's going to be 100% on my own. And I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to create, or what, you know, what it's going to be like, but I'm just going to be fully engaged. I'll do whatever I have to do. Nothing matters, because every day I just keep on waking up. I'm so happy. I don't forget, you know, what that was like to be that patient. That's why I keep my screensaver, you know, the way it is, you know what I mean? And so, you know what I'm talking about, you know, with the skeleton. Yeah. so it's so easy. So that way, if I'm talking to anybody, and like I could be anywhere and stuff, and just kind of tell my, you know, briefly, like just tell them anything about me, and then show them this, and then be like, oh, you know, and then it sparks the conversation. And so it just that, and just kind of kept going, kept getting involved in some events. But it was literally after hitting Washington up and then coming back. But I was like, all right, I'm full in, like, this is it. You know, I was right that high off of Washington. It felt so good going to advocacy days, and then also the MRA forum exchange, and all that stuff. Cause it was like, I was surrounded by, you know, other people that maybe they didn't have my exact story or anything, but, you know, there was usually something similar, you know, in a sense, you know what I mean? And so, but there's a lot of other people with rare melanomas, or just melanoma, and other people had scary ass, you know, experiences. And so, that was just like the fuse, bro. And so when I came back, that's when I was like, okay, I'm getting involved with both the CDMRP, you know, or I got nominated with that. And then it was like, let's get even more going, and figure out like what we could do. And so Melanoma Awareness Month, it was like, man, let's just explode upon like anything and everything that we can, you know. And you know, if what I'm trying to do is always describe like my rare subtype, you know, it's just like, you know, I don't know how to describe it, but it's you know, it's melanoma when it comes down to it. Is when it's metastatic, it's all in your side, it spreads like crazy, you know. Mine just happened to start where I thought was a hemorrhoid, but It's the same thing. Like if there's something wrong, you got to go get checked. And I didn't go get checked. You know what I'm saying? And so that was always my mission. And I always felt the guilt, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, cause I didn't go get checked for 6 months.
My primary, I detected my primary in late spring, mid spring. And, for the first, my guess is probably 2 months that I would just feel this thing, and it's, there's, it just speaks to how naive I was about this disease, where, there's an immediacy of attention that's required.
Yeah. Sense of urgency.
And we deal with so many people that are either fearful of the diagnostic outcome or fearful of the medical bill, and you just have to throw all of that away and jump in, make an appointment, and get somebody to look at that. And that's one of the reasons why maybe both of us do what we do is, one, we understand the urgency of diagnostics.
Yeah.
But we also dodged a huge bullet ourselves.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of survivor's guilt in our community. And
yeah.
I didn't even have survivor's guilt. I was too busy reeling from everything to even kind of have that dawn on me. But I also understand that, from the gratitude I have from my outcomes, that I have to automatically figure out a way to give something back. And not only does that, is the soul sort, if I want to feel good about myself, that's what I get to do. But it also preemptively takes care of that survivor's guilt. So I didn't really think about that when I formed Connect, because I, just was kind of predetermined to do this. I look back on this thinking I didn't have a choice, I'm not a big fan of this everything happens for a reason garbage. We've got 2 cancers in our family. I'm just glad I had my head in the game when I was diagnosed and did the right thing. And then I was there for my wife during her journey. But nobody, one cancer per family is too many already. But when it came to, the way I want to live my life, and this too, is that, there is no way I would have done this without my diagnosis. And not only because of the experience that my diagnosis gave me, but because of the fear of dying that this diagnosis took away from me.
Right.
And I'm not scared of anything. And if it's a financial risk or if it's a time risk, that's a minor nuisance compared to a stage 3 cancer diagnosis or a diagnosis like you experienced. I'll go ahead and be a barista at a Starbucks if I have to. I can go back to work for the library doing whatever, But while I'm here right now, I'm going to try to put the biggest dent in this disease that Connect can, and we have a long road.
Yeah, it's like I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to go broke doing it if I have to. Like I don't give a my credit.
I've second guessed myself a handful of times, and
I'm not.
I've said, is this really what I want to do?
Not giving up.
And every time I circle back and I think, you're damn right, this is what I'm going to do. And I honestly don't care what it costs me. I haven't had a paycheck in 3 years. And to be honest with you, I have a vision of what Connect will look like, a perfect Connect where I can actually hire the board full time, get into education and engagement full time. I can jump into the advocacy shoes and take that to almost annoying levels, because that's what we have to do. We really need the grills of these lawmakers, and we need to stress the importance of research funding in the private and public domain. And we need to get ahead of this disease, because for every one of you know, for every success story like you and I have, there's a story out there that's not as happy, and I'm sick of them, to be honest with you.
It's dude, it sucks. It really does. That's literally why I do this. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, I mean, it's when I was watching a clip the other day, and you remember City Slickers when Curly talks about the one, you know, where he says, you know, you figure out what, you know, that's different for everybody, but you figure out what that is for you, and then, you know, it's all good. And for me, it's like, man, that's exactly it. It's like, I'm not basing my decisions on money anymore, like, because that was always my stress, you know, kind of a thing. Like, you know, it was always like, you know, make sure you're financially secure first, then do everything else. You know what I mean? And this is like, no, now it's okay. I'm just going to be full-fledged in this world, on every level. And, that's literally what brings, that brings me my happiness. You know what I'm saying? So, but dude, yeah, I'm super stoked for the upcoming CDMRP and everything. I actually made a list of 25 different events that go on or so, and this is just a minimum, but this is like ASCO events, SITSI, the SMR, stuff like that. Do you get involved with a lot of those main deals?
No, I would
I'm an
love
advocate.
to attend the ASCO event, which is, I mean, that's really the clinical community. You know, I could go there. I don't know what kind of voice I would have, because, you know, these people are doing the work that we need to anyway, you know, treating and researching.
Yeah.
Researching, you know, what I want to do is financially back them up. So my role in Hilde and my role with the DHRC is to make sure that that the clinical and research communities have the resources they need to keep to find the cures and treat the afflictions. So
yeah.
you know, it would be a great elbow rub, you know. But
yeah,
we need to be very strategic about where we put our resources.
I was trying to. Is there an advocate?
My voice has always been an advocacy, although I have to say the scientific retreat, which was, you know, for me, I couldn't even process that for a while, just because it absolutely floored me to actually meet some of the investigators that I had heard of in person, and to just kind of experience that level of genius. You know, it did remind me of, you know, what it's like to sit on a CDMRP panel, but what it really kind of brought to me was, I think there's a need, maybe a greater need outside of a CDMRP panel, but what the scientific retreat does is, I think the patient and research community, there needs to be a lot more connection between those two. And I'm not sure how that would look like or how that would take shape. But it was, I just think that the consumer, and I don't even like the consumer perspective, although consumer is kind of a blanket term for a patient or a caregiver, when caregivers participate in the CDMRP. I just think that, you know, the clinical community definitely has that patient perspective, although sometimes there can be, you know, clinical genius and bedside failure, you know, with some of these people.
Yeah.
I think the research community would really benefit by, you know, seeing, you know, and that's what I love about the CDMRP, is that you've got a profound personal story that you'll be able to share with people who really aren't looking at the patients. You know, they're looking at, you know, like Jim Allison said, you know, before Sharon Belvin got that treatment,
yeah,
his growly voice, well, that was just numbers.
Did you? I love that documentary. I pulled it up on Apple TV.
Numbers.
Oh man, I love that, dude. Because
it was just numbers until that juice hit her bloodstream and made her cancer go away, and then it was like angels sing. You know,
he doesn't he?
We need.
he practices still currently at MD Anderson, right?
He's actually
isn't he currently there? He's
the chair of immunology at MD Anderson.
I need to write him.
They have their own department now.
I need to write him or just go down there and just sit there and be like, I'm not leaving until I get to meet him and see what's up.
I could do that. I've met a couple people who have met him. I actually wrote him in 2019.
Did he write back?
And I didn't hear back. I was going to go down I went down for South by Southwest, and because I've been to 11 of those now.
Yeah.
And I was hoping that I could either do a side trip to Houston, or if he was, because the immunology department is actually an offshoot of the UT Austin. So
no.
But if he's theoretically headquartered in Houston more, but I'd rent a car and bomb it to Houston to meet him. But my goal is to meet him, and I do these melanoma road shows. I haven't done it in a while since the pandemic, but I was going to do one last year to Missouri, and I'm doing it this August. But I ended up dodging COVID for 3.5 years, or 2.5 years, and then eventually get it myself. So that got stalled. But what I do is I pick a region where I know a bunch of people, and I go visit them in person. And I did that in Michigan in 2019 and had an absolute blast. And then I'm going to do Missouri this fall. But it just, it speaks to our community when we can do that, because I honestly don't think I've done anything very special. I've just kind of followed my gut, and it took me to this place. That's all the result of all of the stuff I've done really is more explained by just me saying yes to everything. I said yes to
being a yes man.
Yeah, well, I remember tabling for AIM. The engagement lead back then had asked for volunteers to table at Mayo, and Mayo's an hour and a half from me. So I just thought, and it was a day, I had to work. And it was just like, I just thought it through, and I said, you know what, I'm going to take the day off. I'm going to call him up, and I'm going to say yes. And then, and I said yes to this little thing. Robin and I ended up speaking at the end of the symposium. And then that may have been the yes that got me nominated to the CDMRP, So I've always thought that, whenever I had the opportunity to participate in something big,
do it.
Probably said yes to something smaller before, like With Love Me, the MRF thought of me for that, and that was an amazing campaign. They're going to sunset that pretty quick, but to be able to meet Katie Couric and be introduced at the gala by Katie Couric, and
did that? Yeah, man.
see all of these other people that went through the same experience as me. And now we're friends, and some of these people are just absolute inspirations. My story is really, people thought about my story like, wow, you were really something. I said, just make sure you watch them all, because they're all important. And that video, I just saw that recently because you just recirculated it or whatever. But where y'all read the letter? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, dude, that was pretty cool, dude. I was like, that was shot really well.
Yeah, it was.
I like that.
They flew me to New York 3 times. They flew me to Brooklyn to film it, and then they flew me to Manhattan for a panel discussion with Katie Couric and a bunch of the other people. That's where I met Julie Frampton.
Yeah.
And I got to see all the people from my panel too. And then,
dude, I love Julie. She's awesome.
They flew me a 3rd time to the gala, and then of course I had. I was on Good Morning America, and then covered locally here by the CBS affiliate. And I mean, it was just a massive exposure thing. But the reason I've got to be a part of that is because I probably did something before that was really small.
Right.
I don't go out and actively hunt this stuff down. I just think that anybody who's willing to say yes to anything or participate to any degree in all of this important work that we're doing will be handed an opportunity to do something, you know, more national or more global or bigger impact. And I'm convinced on it, because to be honest with you, you know, we're special because we're melanoma patients, but in the community of melanoma patients, we're not special. We're frightfully,
we're like a fraction.
Similar.
Dude, I'm doing my first like charity, like active thing. I'm doing this pickleball tournament that's helping be put on over at the courts in McKinney over here, dude. And I went and played it for the first time and did like a 2-hour deal. I'm gonna start doing like weekly classes and stuff. I mean, but this is like my first kind of experience into fundraising, you know what I mean, in terms of all that, in terms of like I'm putting on a deal, like we're supposed to have it this coming Saturday. There's some conflict with getting the field full because it's, you know, we have a lot of graduations and that sort of thing out here in Texas, but it'll be, you know, the middle of summer, June 24th, and you know, food truck, live music, we have Tup's Brewery, alcohol sponsorship. You know, I got a lot of swag. Dude, I got a lot of swag that keeps on coming in and everything. We're gonna have the sun strips. They reached out to me. They're sending me a bunch of those Band-Aid deals. You know.
Yep. We got giving those away. We're going to Mayo tomorrow or Friday for the Stand of the Sun run. We'll
be having those.
Yeah, Robin and I are gonna table there.
They reached out, but the MRF sent me a bunch of cool swag and everything. We got the Coolie Bar deals. We got Goop sunscreen. We got some information packets, some straws, some stuff. But you know, we're gathering, you know, what we can to like pull together, you know, in terms of like swag. But we'll have some of the raffles, you know, and stuff, and prizes, because it'll be like pickleball merch, maybe some paddles or whatever. I mean, I don't really know. Could be anything. But anyways, it kind of, you know, it's an outdoor activity for the most part, you know, and so Texas, you know, for even year round, man. So there's no other, you know, representation from in terms of this kind of tournament that's, you know, going towards melanoma research and for pickleball and everything. But I'm putting it directly towards the Out of the Shadows deal, which will go towards mucosal melanoma. And so but yeah, we got a bunch of cool bandanas, and then Low Ultraviolet, they're sending me a bunch of some gear. I think it's oh god, what are they sending me? They're sending me some, I think, some of those neck gaiters, you know. And so but yeah, shout out to all my sponsors for that. But yeah, it's going to be for the MRF, the Melanoma Research Foundation. I'm super stoked for that, dude. And then recently I helped Julie. I got to see her, you know, do the aim at 5K. I just showed up, you know, to volunteer. Mm-hmm. Didn't actually go do the run or anything, dude, but I was just moving like pallets of water, you know, and setting up snack stations and greeting people as they came in, and you know, and then helped them like break down when it was done and help them set up when I got there and or whatever. But you know, just the main thing I always try to tell everybody, dude, is to share your story. You know what I'm saying? There's more than one way to like getting involved, but the minimum you can do is just share it, you know. And so that way, I mean, that, you know, that's something that doesn't cost you anything other than your voice. And so but the more you kind of share it, and you're right. So, you know, getting involved by sending your Congress people or any kind of local level. I'm going to pull this out just because you were talking about, you know, writing your local law people, you know, and I actually sent the governor of Texas a proclamation asking him to make it official to make
I saw that. That's incredible.
The month of May officially Melanoma Awareness Month, you know. And then he sent me this, dude. I about almost, you know, crap my pants. I was like, oh snap, you know what I'm saying? Whoops, hey, like, dude, I was like, yeah, I need to go get me something. But I was like, now it's official. Like it was before, it was like I would say, yeah, May is Melanoma Awareness Month, but now it's official in Texas.
Right.
Straight up.
That's you sharing your story, but it's you doing a lot more than that, man. You're doing the deal.
Yeah.
No, you're kind of getting out there. The thing that's that's why it's Connect Melanoma.
Yeah.
So connection is everything. Connection is the reason I'm alive today, and it's the reason that I'm doing what I'm doing now. It's all of everything I'm doing. Can really be traced back to that completely accidental meeting with Robin.
Yeah.
I still tell her all this is her fault.
I need to check in with her today, actually, get her on this call. You know, I had Julie on this call last week. She's actually jumping on again today, this afternoon. I need to get in touch with her and stuff. But so she's your main number one MelaHomie?
Well, she is. And then Cheryl Adams, who you haven't met, but maybe her son Graham is a schizoid melanoma patient diagnosed 9 years ago now, or longer. She and I, the story with her, and this is again, this is the motivation. This is like, I have to do something. It's the village mentality. It's the first time I met Cheryl. We were, I posted on Facebook that I was invited to table for melanoma awareness at the county health fair. So that's in the atrium of the government center. It's a big high traffic thing. It's 2 hours over lunch. And she just invited herself. I didn't know who she was. She said, I'm coming. She works at Children's Hospital, which is a couple miles south in Minneapolis. To paint a picture of her dedication, she tells her boss, she's a respiratory tech at Children. She tells her boss that she's going to take a long lunch. She drives downtown, pays $32 to park in the government center, which is just highway robbery, in my opinion.
$32 to park?
Yeah, for 2 hours in the government center because you're punished for parking. She shows up at the health fair. Hi, how do you do? And then she talks her lungs out for 2 hours. We had an incredible turnout. We gave away 250 sunscreen samples, easy. And we talked ourselves hoarse. And then at the end of that, she looks at me and she says, I have to go. And that's it. It's like, thank you so much. You're awesome. No pat on the back, no cheering section. She goes, she's a mother of 8. She's a full-time respiratory tech and rolls her sleeves up and exploits every opportunity she has to share her story. And when she left, no pat on the back, no cheering section, no waiting for anything. It was just like, she just moved on. That she became a teacher for me that day. That, I'm gonna say yes to everything. I'm gonna show up. I'm gonna suit up. I'm going to do the deal, and then I'm gonna move on to the next thing. And so she's right up there with Robin when it comes to the inspiration, and that's why they're on the board. That's why they got business cards that say who they are here, and that's why I'm absolutely certain that had I not met those two, Connect would still be an idea,
right?
And not a bona fide 501c3 with a shingle outside the door, and without question. And that's the inspiration, and that's connection. That's why I work Connect Melanoma.
Straight up.
Connect people to resources, but Connect called Connect because connection is the reason that we are in existence today. So. Cool
Sweet.
Story,
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. Cool deal. Man, well, I appreciate everything. I'm gonna get running here shortly, man. Is there anything else you want to bring up before we cut loose today?
No, I think we're good. I really appreciate the opportunity to chat with you. It's great to see you again.
Yeah.
Say, I love what you're doing. You look like you're all in. You're not just giving lip service here, Chris. You're actually taking action. You're organizing things. You're creating events. You're soliciting people for help. You're doing what you have to do, and you're doing what we have to do. You're a big part of the village, and you're also impacting your community down in Texas. You're showing them how it's done. It's great.
Straight up. I mean, so look out for more episodes right here. Tills from the Chris. And then also I'm going to start, and this is more of an execution issue or a procrastination problem personally, but I'm really going to start getting down on the reels with like Instagram, and then my TikTok account. I
am too. Facebook's a great platform for us because for fundraising, but there's so much more interactive with Instagram.
Yeah, I have there's so many
live.
The more the better, and the more different ways you can do that. How many different platforms is Connect with? As many different socials as you can, I guess. I mean, that's what I'm working to do the same. So
I wish I had a full-time social media person who could just go out and just spread the word, and just do it, sit and feed the platforms with because there's so much content, and especially this month, if we just had somebody, keep that pipeline full.
Strike while the iron's hot. You know what I mean? Like this is our month. I mean, like we're a little more than halfway through it. You know what I'm saying? So just keep it going. I mean, what do we got? Another week and a half or so. To rock Melanoma Month, something like that. So anyways, all right, my man. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate you coming on, Patrick. Take care, my man. Will do, dude. You take care.
Yeah, talk to you soon.